I'm Mark McAllister here at Finn Park in a neighborhood known as The Pocket. And as you can see behind me, the basketball courts here are a very popular place for kids to come and play after school, especially after the last day of school. After some video emerged online recently, though, of these rims, these hoops being taken down by city staff, people in this area and people in this city of basketball champions started getting very upset. As a result, the city has decided to reverse their actions and change the rules a little bit. Here's more.
Effective immediately, we've suspended this practice entirely. So what the long-term solution is going to be, as I say, it will likely be on a case-by-case basis, but staff will need to work through this. These are not simple solutions. These are complicated issues with, individuals all have their various needs and points of view.
Isn't this terrible?
No, I can still have just as much fun out here.
We, as a government, as a city, need to try to strike a balance that, is whether it's a compromise or what have you.
6 o'clock in the summer, it's probably too early. The sun is still up, But when the sun comes down, I think the courts got to be closed too, somehow, some way. When the basketball courts were open at night, there was a lot of trouble. We'd have cars lined up and down these streets. There'd be like 40 people, making noise till 3 in the morning. It became unbearable. You can't live with it. You couldn't sleep. You couldn't keep your window open. All you had is profanities coming through your window, There was drugs being dealt here. It was way out of control. So something had to be done.
I know there's been a problem with kids playing basketball until the wee hours of the morning, and other activities. And I didn't think that was fair for neighbors. But now that you're telling me, and I wasn't aware that they're coming down at 6, I think that is maybe a bit early.
6 p.m. is not reasonable. It is far too early.
Why was the decision made to make it 6 o'clock in the first place?
So quite frankly, it has to do with the crews who go around and do this work. They have set hours, and that's, they go to a park, they remove the nets, they store them, they come back the next morning and reinstall them, they go to the next park. And that's basically how it was done. That sort of meets the city's needs. It doesn't meet the residents' needs.
So as you can see, 10 minutes after 5, and the court is actually just starting to fill up at this point. So the question becomes, do they leave the hoops up all night at this point, or do they wait to take them down once the sun goes down? That remains to be seen. We're going to hear from the mayor a little later on and how he goes about trying to balance these sorts of things. In additional news this afternoon, we found out that the Toronto District School Board plans on starting a 6-month pilot project. They plan on leaving the hoops up on school grounds to see how that goes as well. The basketball courts here at Finn Park in The Pocket are very busy, as they would be at this time of day. It's about 5:30, and there is quite a few people that are gathering here, especially now that there's some rule changes here on the court. What has happened over the last few days is that there's been some criticism as a result of city staff coming by and actually taking the hoops down after 6 o'clock. And so as a result, the city has stepped forth. They're now playing a little bit of defense, and they've decided that they're reversing that decision, and as of effective immediately, they're no longer going to be taking those hoops down. Here's Mayor John Tory.
As long as these places are there for public use, as long as we have kids who want to play basketball, we want them to be doing that. We want them to be engaged in that kind of positive, fun activity, especially in the summer months. To me, that means leaving basketball nets up. It means making sure that where there is excessive noise really late at night or early into the morning, we deal with that through the mechanisms of our bylaw and our enforcement officials, but that we don't do it by trying to take basketball nets down, and especially not at 6 o'clock at night when the evening is just beginning for a lot of people.
Okay, so with me now is one of the parents in the neighborhood. This is Naomi, and you've been following this fairly closely. You've been to this park many, many times. What do you think about what has happened over the last few days?
I think it's a really great opportunity for the community to get to use the park in a new and different way.
What were your thoughts about the hoops coming down at 6 o'clock every day prior?
I would walk through the park regularly on my way home from work, and I'd see the hoops coming down, and it just seems like such a waste. I look forward to the time when I'm going to have an opportunity to come home, feed my daughter dinner, and go back to the park and play some basketball, and that's going to be possible now.
I know that there's been a lot of discussion, and we've spoke with other residents that back onto the park here about problems that existed probably 10 years ago late at night. How do you think that there might be a balance when it comes to the point where you want to keep the hoops up, but you want to make sure that everyone's safe at night?
For sure. I wasn't living in the pocket at that time. And so, I think if there are problems going forward with this new arrangement, then we as a community will have to come together and figure out what the solution is. It's a really tight-knit and lovely community here, and I have the confidence that everybody will be able to voice their opinions and find some common ground.
I appreciate you joining us. That has certainly happened before. The concerns were raised, the rules were changed. Now it's just a matter of watching how everything shakes down at this point.